introductory video just to kind of explain what it is that my channel's about, what I do, the kind of equipment that I use. This will be like the introductory video, so when you first click on the channel, this will be the first thing that starts playing, because I thought I've done lots of investigations, but I haven't actually done a kind of video yet that just explains the basics of it all. So if anybody is new to this, it is a bit strange. What I do, spirit boxing, that's upside down. Yeah, this is the SBox. This is what I use for my paranormal investigations, which is basically what this channel is about. Going to various places, mostly historical places, because I'm quite interested in that as well. And yeah, trying to see if I can contact any spirits of the dead. Which I know probably sounds very strange, but I had been watching a lot of people using these online, and I was just blown away by the stuff that was coming through, like really intelligent, relevant responses. So I was really curious, and I decided to get one myself, and it has been the best thing I've ever done. It has changed, it has changed my life. I think it is that profound. I have had some incredible responses through this. I'll explain what it is, and I'll show you some of the evidence I found, because I think people should know about it. That's why I started a YouTube channel, because I think it is that incredible that people need to be aware of this. So basically what this is it's a radio scanner. So it's made specifically for spirit communication. It scans very rapidly through radio frequencies, as you'll hear. Again, it's kind of an annoying sound, but it's like a and it's scanning so quickly it shouldn't be able to pick up any, certainly not any sentences or even words, and yet that's exactly what does come through this. Often intelligent sentences and intelligent responses. I will address a lot of the criticisms of it as well. A lot of people say that it's just radio noise and things like that, but that doesn't stack up, and I'll explain why. So I'll play you examples of all the things I'm about to talk about as well, but basically it shouldn't be able to get full sentences because it's scanning so rapidly, and yet I very often get full sentences. Often things to do with death and dying are all relevant to the place that I'm going to. I've been all over the place. I've been above a plague pit, I've been in a haunted ex-hospital, various old churches, cemeteries tend to get very good responses, and I'll play you some of the interesting stuff I got there, specifically things with sentences. I've had as well them putting sort of 3 separate words together to make an intelligent, coherent sentence. So I'll show you some examples of that now. The name on the bench. What kind of help do you need? So many ask for help. What help do you need?
The country. Okay.
Oh, healthy. Spirits here. There's loads coming through it. No. Your chance to talk. 1858. 34. There's more than one type of spirit box you can get, but I really like this one, the SBox by Ghost Stop, mainly because, and I'll never stop going on about this because I think it's brilliant, there's this SD card slot here, so this has internal recording, and I think that makes all the difference, because when you can record internally and then take that file and play it back afterwards, which I do at high volume and play it over and over and over again until I get what it said in order to be able to transcribe it, that then reduces sort of outside noise contamination, so you can be sure that you're actually hearing what has been recorded on this. So I was thinking of getting the SB7, which is another type of spirit box, but the fact that it doesn't have that SD card, I don't think it would be worth it for me personally, because that I think is a really good way of authenticating the things that come through this. So usually in my videos I play the recording, the direct recording of this, and the internal recording as well, so that you can hear things a lot more clearly on the internal recording, which is what I transcribe from. Other things that come through that I find really convincing are swear words. Sometimes they're not happy, the spirits. Sometimes they are really mad about things. Something that comes up time and time again is vandalism. They really don't like it when buildings or graves or places like that have been vandalized or just kind of left to go to ruin. They often have quite strong opinions about that. Again, if this was just radio bleed, like some people say, just noise coming from the radio, why are swear words coming through quite regularly? Yeah, so I'll play you a selection of those now. Just a kind of a warning if you have kids in the room, maybe cover their ears for this one. Interestingly, talking about the full sentences, it seemed to evolve. It seemed to sort of, they seem to get better at doing these full sentences. And it's interesting because it sort of follows the same sound pattern every time. It's like, the first bit will be audible, then it'll be really quiet, then it'll like go up at the end. This happens all the time with this, and it's this distinct pattern, and it will all sort of make sense. And again, the radio is scanning in through all these different stations in the background, and yet this coherent sentence manages to come through in this same pattern. I'll play you some examples of this now so you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that middle bit is always really difficult to transcribe, but then you see what I mean when I say it sort of goes up and it's quite loud at the end. Again, nobody really knows how they use this. There's some theories out there that maybe they use the energy or the static. It's a mystery, but all I know is I am getting intelligent responses, and so are lots of others that I can see, and I think it should be taken seriously. I've yet to see a convincing debunk be done on this. A lot of people use the example of like auditory illusions to kind of say, oh, you're just hearing what you want to hear. But I don't think that's true. I don't know if you heard of the brainstorm green needle thing. Type that into Google or YouTube and a video will come up, and it's a really clever auditory illusion in that whenever brainstorm is on the screen and they play the same sound clip, you'll hear brainstorm. They'll play the clip again, but if it says green needle, you'll hear green needle. It's really clever. It's like, I don't know if you're aware of optical illusions. It's that kind of thing, but for the ears. And it's super clever. And people often say, oh, that completely, disproves this type of thing because it proves our ears aren't reliable. And to that, I would say it's a little bit like saying, because we have a blind spot, our eyes aren't reliable. It's a big generalization to make over one very sort of clever illusion. But it is a good point and a good thing to say, because it's like, I do find sometimes that I get two different things coming through and I'll go over it, and it is quite baffling sometimes as to which one it is. So in that case, I tend to put two things up with a slash in between them so you can kind of have a think, make up your own minds on that one, because sometimes it is a bit ambiguous as to what does come through it. So I'm honest about that when that does happen, but it's usually never more than like 2 or 3 words in those cases, and very often responses are really clear. And I think it is a bit unfair to say people are just kind of hearing what they want to hear. Our ears are generally reliable, so yeah, I don't think that really stands up as a debunk. Another thing I get through this as well is old-fashioned phrasing and intonation. So there was a really interesting one where I went to an old church and it came through straight away on this. It said, a woman that said, I married here. And it was like, nobody says here anymore. And it's things like that, these old-fashioned intonations and phrasing as well. There was one in, I'll play you all this, a cemetery, it said died 21, and I heard it so clearly through this in real time. And I sort of questioned a bit further on that, and I said, that's very young, how do you feel about that? And it replied, a blinking waste. And I thought, you don't hear people say blinking anymore, do you? I thought that was sort of charmingly old-fashioned. I'll play you that now. Died 21, did I say? That was, what's the name? That's very young. How do you feel feel about that? Are you at peace? So yeah, why and would there be like this old-fashioned language coming through radio and old-fashioned accents and so much talk about death and dying? You would expect to hear like weather reports, news, celebrity names, things like music, things like that if it was radio news. I don't really hear any of that. I hear a lot of stuff about death and dying and being dead. You know, who on the radio would say things like, I'm dead, and things like that. I'll do a little compilation of that for you now so you can see what I mean, and this comes through a lot.
Died in hospital.
Naples, in Italy. That's the Second World War. Another thing that I find with the SBox is that it seems to respond differently depending on my circumstances. And I mention this in every video, but I think it's really important I mentioned in this one, since I'm talking about how it works. I mentioned in this one, since I'm talking about how it's whenever I do a session here on camera, I get very, very little through, yet I can sit over there off camera and get absolutely loads coming through. And again, if it was just radio, why is it responding to whether or not I have a camera in front of me? Let's test this out now. Let's give this a go, because it does this thing.
SBox. Scanning. FM.
This is very annoying. Okay, so what I do, turn it up, that records, and that sets it to go. So it's every single time, there is nothing when I'm in front of the camera. Anybody there? So this just shows that it can work in a predictable way depending on the circumstances. So that's really strange. I'll usually get 2 or 3 when I do a little session on here, yet I can get about like a big long list of words within about 3 or 4 minutes off camera. So I don't know what that said, I'll have to go back and check. What did that say? Anybody here? I'll probably... there's something. Okay, I'll leave that for now because that'll just go on otherwise. But yeah, I do seem to have a team of the same voices that I keep hearing through this as well. One, I think I possibly heard her then actually, is a woman. She comes through quite strongly and she seems to sort of help with various kind of interactions. I think it's almost as if they're able to get the attention of spirits at certain locations and get them to kind of use this, like they sort of show them how to use it. It all sounds really mad, but this I've been doing this for a year now, and this is what I found. I also seemed to have the spirit of my great-grandfather come through as well after I had the family grave cleaned up a few months back, and he sort of lurked around and he has a very distinctive voice. Yeah, so it seems to be the same kind of people coming through, which is interesting. So as well as the SBox, I do have some other equipment that I use. I have the K2 over there. I keep that there in these sort of home sessions just in case it does go off. It never does. But we did have some weird activity with that in a cemetery with my friend Hayley earlier this summer, so I'll play you that now. But I'd be very surprised if it went off. Oh!
No, bye. That flashed.
That did flash.
Is
it my phone? Right, I'm moving back. Is that my phone?
Maybe. Yeah, that's probably...
Can I just test to see what happens? Nothing. I get very little through this, I'll be quite honest. And it's not my phone. So what was setting that off then? That's really strange. If it's right up by my phone and it's not going off. What was setting that off? Yeah, but generally that thing never goes off. It can be affected like by modems and electrical stuff, but I keep it there just in case. Oh, it did go off once. No, it did go off once actually, I just remembered now, which was interesting because I've been reading a book at the time about Frank Sumption, who was the inventor of the original Spirit Box 20 years ago, now passed on, and apparently he likes to come through people's spirit boxes. I wasn't expecting this at all, but he announced himself, so I'll show you this clip now. And he made my K2 flash whilst I was talking about him. That's the only time my K2 has gone off, so I'll play you this little clip from that video now. Something really cool that came up as well, I don't know if you've seen my last vlog, but if you had, you will know that I seem to have maybe had communication by Frank Sumption, the inventor of the original Spirit Box, who passed away in 2014, but his nickname was Purple. And apparently he's been known to come through people's spirit boxes introducing himself as Purple, because that's what they called him through his spirit box, so it became his nickname. And twice now I have had I'm Purple come through in an American accent. It happened last time and it happened in that one, so what are the odds of that if it's just radio bleed? Yeah, so I talk about Frank in my last vlog, so do watch that. But yeah, that made my day when that came through. And twice now I have had I'm Purple come through in an American accent. So yeah, in addition to the K2, I've also got something new there, which is, I have a few of them, cat balls. And these, if you're not aware, you can activate them like that, and they are motion activated. So I see a lot of investigators using these. It'll stop in a minute, hang on. And then when it stops, it shouldn't go off unless, I'm trying to keep my hand really still here. So, okay, that shouldn't go off unless something actually touches it. Some people say they're sensitive, but I don't think they are. Like, you can do that with it. There we go, you have to hit it quite hard for that to actually go off. And I see these getting really good results on people's investigations. So I thought I'd start using these. It would seem, because you don't actually, they flash, but they don't actually seem to move in people's investigations. So I have a theory that maybe spirits can sort of affect the internal components of it somehow. I haven't really had a chance to use these much yet, so I'll do a bit more experimenting with these. But again, I have one there that's activated, and if that flashes, then that will be interesting. So in terms of getting more equipment and things like that, I have been thinking about getting a voice recorder that people use to record EVPs on. I'm not really sure which one to get yet though. I know the DR60 is meant to be like the really sort of the one that everyone's after, the holy grail of EVP recordings, but have you seen how much they're going for on eBay? Like seriously, who has that kind of money for an early 2000s tape recorder? I don't. So I won't be buying the DR60 anytime soon, but if you know of any other really good ones that are similar, that are good at specifically capturing EVPs, do let me know in the comments below. Because I would like to try and just use different methods and kind of broaden what I do basically. But the only concern I have really with the tape recorders is that they are prone to a lot of noise contamination, which again is the good thing with this and the internal recording, that you don't have to worry about that noise contamination. So I'm interested to try with EVPs. I got one EVP on a video that came through the camera I was recording on, but that's the only time I've ever had anything like that happen. And then last but not least, there's the phone apps. I have the Spirit Talker app. I see people using this a lot. I think it's BS. Sorry, I know some people really like them, don't hate me in the comments, but it's like, I've tried it, I've never had intelligent responses through it. I think, I have a theory that it listens in on people somehow and is able to like respond with relevant words that people have been talking about, but in terms of having a two-way conversation or getting answers from it, I don't know, I've yet to be convinced on that. I'm kind of not really able to show on camera though, because I film on my iPhone and that's what the app is on, so otherwise I would do a demonstration of that, but maybe I'll find something else to film on and then we can kind of have like a Spirit Talker versus SBox battle and see which wins, if I'm making the most sense or not. But yeah, I take them with a pinch of salt, and they tend to sort of be programmed to throw out like haunted house type words and creepy phrasings and old people's names, and so I don't think it's a random word generator at all. I think it is programmed for false positives, but I remain open-minded. Convince me, I'm open-minded. So yeah, to conclude, I'm just trying to sort of find evidence for the afterlife in a respectful way that treats spirits like people, because I think spirits are just people without bodies at the end of the day, and I think there's a huge amount of evidence out there that our souls do live on after death. Look up near-death experiences if you haven't done already. That is fascinating, and there are so many very similar stories as well that people come out with who've had near-death experiences, so it all kind of helps, I find, to look at a range of different sources and then try and sort of piece it all together. I would like to go out and do a lot more travelling. Unfortunately, I am disabled, so that does kind of make it very difficult for me to sort of get out and about. But in a way, it was becoming disabled a couple of years ago that kind of got me into all this in the first place, in a way. So I issues with tendons in my knees for a while. I was really struggling to walk at all, so I had to spend a lot of time sitting down basically. And during this time I found Paranormal YouTube and I got really into it, and I was watching it all and I learned a hell of a lot. I've always been a believer in the paranormal. I've always been quite interested in that. I think ever since, I don't know, I'm showing my age now, but I don't know if anyone remembers Strange But True on the BBC back in the like mid-90s. I remember watching that as a kid and just being like so freaked out, but like really loving it as well. I would tune in every episode to watch Michael Aspel striding around a dusty library and these sort of bad reconstructions of things that happened with bad acting. It's hilarious. They're on YouTube if you're curious. Strange But True. And yeah, that really got me into it, and it got me thinking, like, I think there's something else going on here. And yeah, then I got really into Most Haunted a few more years down the line, and I believed all of that, which has now since been proven to mostly be a load of nonsense. So finding Paranormal YouTube was really interesting, because it became quite clear early on that a lot of these people were genuine. There was no fakery here. Sometimes things happened, sometimes things didn't. And it wasn't like being put on for the entertainment. Like, you could tell the ones that are putting it on for the entertainment value, the ones that are faking stuff and going all crazy with it. And there were a lot that I could tell were just genuine. And it really piqued my interest. So then I started doing lots of research into it, specifically this. I was watching somebody's video that had a spirit box session, and I was hearing stuff coming through this video that this guy wasn't hearing, and it was answering him. And I'm like, this person's answering you. And I'm like, that's when I realised this isn't fake, because he wasn't hearing this stuff and it was clearly answering. Well, not clearly, but to me I could hear it. So that's when I thought, I need to look into this. And yeah, I made the investment, started doing some experiments, and I thought, I've got to get this on YouTube because it's so interesting. And people should know as well. I think if there is evidence that we live on after death, that is something people should know about. Wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to fear dying or fear the end, or just to know that our loved ones are somewhere safe and happy? And I just think it matters. It matters. So that's why I'm careful to always investigate respectfully. Like, I don't go around recent graves or anything like that. If I go to cemeteries, I always go to like the old Victorian sections, because I have an interest in Victorians anyway, so I just like to go around bothering them with my spirit box, and you get some really interesting answers through as well. And it's been surprising who I've been able to sort of make contact with. And very often relevant names will come through and relevant statements, and you can sort of piece a story together as well of things that have happened. So yeah, prior to doing all this, I hadn't really had many paranormal experiences at all, actually, but I thought it might be worth talking about sort of the couple that I have had that have had a profound effect on me. Again, this was before I was into my paranormal phase. I had two very strange experiences, which I do actually think now are paranormal because I cannot explain this, and I didn't know at the time either that 3 o'clock in the morning is like said to be a very active time for spirits, and both of these things happened in hotels at 3 o'clock in the morning. So make of that what you will. But yeah, the first one happened to me when in 2017. I was staying in a hotel in London with my then partner, and it all looked modern. So I wasn't thinking about ghosts or anything like that. It was like a modern room. We were in a basement, and it was just like a perfectly modern looking room. I was jolted awake at 3 o'clock in the morning by what I can only describe as something touching me on my inner thigh. Like I was asleep, and then if something grabbed you and you'd like jolt awake like that. And I jolted awake. My partner was on his side sleeping, facing that way. There was no way it was him. He wouldn't have done that kind of thing anyway. But like I would have seen him turning over if it was. So I just kind of lay there for a bit going, oh, okay. Okay. That was weird. And then I checked my phone and it said 3 o'clock. So I got up, went to the toilet, came back to bed, and I was just like, all right, we're just gonna roll with this. And I made a point of checking the building when I left the hotel the next day to see if it was an old building, and it was this big old Victorian, sort of like the old Victorian buildings in London. So yeah, it was older than what it looked. And again, I wasn't in my paranormal phase then. Same with this next one. I wasn't thinking about ghosts or paranormal activity or anything like that. Yeah, really weird experience. The second one was at the beginning of 2020, before all the COVID stuff kicked off. Again, staying in a hotel, this time in Shrewsbury with my partner, and I was woken up again at 3 o'clock in the morning by like this light in the room, and I was like, what the hell is that? And I then realised the TV had turned itself on, like there was no sound, because it was on a CFAX page. And I was like, what? Because I'd been watching the news the night before, I turned it off, so you would assume it would just turn back on the same channel that you've been watching. But no, it was on the CFAX page to do with like foreign holidays and things, which is weird because we were living overseas at the time and my partner was Spanish, so it mentioned like holidays in Spain and other stuff, so I was like, that's a bit weird. At the time, I convinced myself that there must be some sort of electrical fault and maybe somebody else's remote turned our TV on, and that was how I managed to get to sleep that night, by convincing myself of that. But that would actually be impossible. Another remote cannot turn a separate TV in a different room on, and who's watching TV at 3 o'clock in the morning anyway? So I do actually think that was paranormal. I didn't know at the time, but I do know now that spirits turning TVs on is a thing that can happen. Again, spirits, you know, touching people, often females, that can happen. So what I know now further convinces me that what happened was probably paranormal. But apart from that, I've had a couple of other experiences, but nothing that I would say was as freaky as those. I heard my granddad's voice in my ear calling my name a few years after he died. I was going through a difficult patch at the time, and so that was very comforting. And that was like inside my ear, I heard it. If you've had any experiences similar to this, let me know in the comments below, because the thing I'm constantly struck by is how many people have actually had paranormal experiences when you talk to them. Like, it's a lot. I would say it's most people have had something that's happened to them. So I'm really interested to hear what kind of things you've had. Let me know in the comments below. So yeah, I hope you found this video interesting. Do like, comment, subscribe. It really helps my channel. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Love and light to you all. Stay curious. Bye.